My wife, 31 years old, and I, 30 years old, were having a gender reveal for our first child. My wife doesn't mind what gender the baby is. She just wanted to get a few friends and family together for a small party, and she was under the impression that I thought that too. Neither of us were interested in doing anything big. We just had a friend read out the letter and reveal the gender. I didn't tell my wife this, but I was really hoping for a daughter instead of a son. So when it was revealed that we'll be having a boy, it really upset me. I didn't want to ruin the day though, so I just tried to act normal and celebrate with my wife and the family. Later on, after everyone had left, I was alone in our room while my wife was downstairs. I was sitting on the bed and just started crying. I don't often cry. I think it's a waste of my time and unnecessary, but I was just really panicking. I really wanted a daughter because my dad was really shitty to me and he messed me up a lot. I'm scared that I will be the same to my son. I don't want to frick my son up like my dad did to me. I've been scared about turning into my dad since before I met my wife. The big reason I didn't want kids originally was in case I treated them like my dad treated me. My wife walked in on me crying, and I tried to explain why without talking about my dad much. She doesn't know anything about what my dad was like. She told me that I was selfish and called me a few other things. Then she told me to sleep on the couch. She hasn't really been the same with me since. She's still really annoyed. Am I the idiot? Edit. I'm not going to reply to all of the comments, but I have read them all, so thank you so much. I'm going to try and find a way to tell my wife about my childhood. I've just never spoken to anyone about it before. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. So, you're not TA for crying or panicking or freaking out, but a soft, gentle, you're the idiot for not sharing this with your wife. Though I get that in a moment of fear and panic, digging deep and pulling something like that out can be difficult. A lot of mentions here about gender disappointment, but I'd gander that's not what's happening here. It rather sounds more like some sort of trauma response. Your dad was really shitty to you, his son, and you're terrified of being a shoot father to your son, and you believe you may escape that if you had a daughter. Now I want to tell you that while it absolutely makes no logical sense at all, I 100% understand how it is something your mind can believe. Knowing, believing. Distance helps, it absolutely helps. It's the same way people get scared of dogs because they had a traumatic experience when they were younger. The dogs they meet now are absolutely not the dog that caused that traumatic experience, yet they are still terrified and would never want to be anywhere near a dog. It's not just the fear of a dog, but rather what that dog represents, their traumatic experience. Now for someone in that situation, the solution is simple for them. Never go near a dog. That's tenable because you don't ever have to go near a dog if you don't want to, and one can avoid them for life if they so choose. Your situation deviates from this analogy, because no matter what happens now, you're having a son. And I get how confusing it must be for you to be terrified of a moment that should be a jubilant one. So I hope what I'm saying helps at least a little to put things in perspective. You have an amazing opportunity that many people don't ever get, and that is to see that the thing you're attaching to your fears has nothing to do with your fear at all. It sounds ridiculous when said, but many times what we know may not equal to what we believe, and you believe that you may be a bad father to your son because your dad was bad to you. But once you start to be a good father, that belief will have no hold on your life at all, and you'll see it doesn't matter if you have a son or daughter. You define what kind of parent you are. And think about the head start you have. You already know exactly what not to do. Comment 2. I don't want to call you a jerk, you're dealing with trauma. I had a terrible mum, and I know that even in my 40s it still affects me in many ways. Overcoming childhood trauma is hard. It takes work, but you need to do the work. And here you are studiously avoiding doing the work. You're walking around with trauma that your wife knows nothing about because you're burying it. You're having a child with someone who doesn't know all the fears you have about having a child because you haven't told her any of them. You can't get over trauma without facing it. And becoming a father is a good kick in the butt to start processing your trauma because you want to break the cycle of abuse here. All your wife can see here is, I'm really upset because I wanted my baby to have different genitals, because that's all you're letting her see. I'm betting she would be way more understanding if she could hear, I'm upset because my father was terrible to me. I went through terrible things, and I love our son so much that I don't want to do that to him, and I'm so afraid. And then start working through the trauma, with a therapist if possible, because it's going to be better for your son and your wife and yourself. Do it for him if you couldn't do it for yourself. Let that be his gift to you before he's even here. I get it. I was terrified of being like my mum. I was afraid I would fall into that because I didn't know how else a parent was supposed to be. I might not have had a good model on how to be a mum, but I had a great model on how not to be a mum. And that was enough. I made plenty of mistakes, but I didn't make those mistakes. And you won't either, because you know how badly you don't want to be that kind of dad. Wishing you all the best as you go forward here. Talk to your wife, get some counselling. Take the time to love yourself here. You're going to be a great dad to your son. Comment 3. You're the idiot, but not for crying. Your wife thinks you are selfish because you wanted one thing and got another, and now you don't feel happy about your child. Because you are unwilling to open up about the real reason you were feeling emotional, she reacted in a way that felt acceptable. She feels like this is your child to love regardless, and here you are moping. Not communicating about things like this is what causes conflicts. You need to go to her, apologize that you upset her on what was meant to be a happy day for you all, and then explain exactly how you are feeling. Meaning you need to talk about whatever happened between you and your father. Now that you are going to be a parent, these things are going to come out in you. You're going to feel emotionally triggered sometimes, and she's going to be totally in the dark. I agree that you should write it out if talking about it is hard. OP, you won't be like your dad. You're literally crying, worried that you will hurt this kid, and the kid isn't even here yet. You're 100% in control of how you parent your kid, and if you do it with love, patience, and understanding with a goal of mutual respect, you will be fine. You need to consider therapy before your child is born. I had many disappointments in my relationship with my mother when I was younger. As a mum to girls, I found it very, very healing to be able to be the parent to them that I wish I had had. Now for the update. It's been a month since the gender reveal, and things have just spiraled. I never imagined that the pain of an unresolved past could seep into the most joyous aspects of my life and corrode them. The distance between my wife and me only grew. She's been cold and distant, and our conversations are nothing but shards of courtesy. 2 weeks ago, I decided to seek therapy to address my issues with my father and the irrational fear of failing my own son. I wanted to show my wife that I was taking steps to better myself for our family's future. But when I tried to share this with her, hoping it would bridge the gap between us, it backfired. She said it was too little, too late, and that she was tired of feeling like a second priority behind my personal hang-ups. Last week, I came home from a therapy session to find half the closet empty. She'd gone to stay with her sister, saying she needed space to think. I feel like I'm in this tailspin, trying to grasp the fragments of my marriage with hands that inadvertently seem to push everything further away. Yesterday, the ultrasound photo that we had framed fell and the glass shattered, a perfect metaphor for our current situation. It's hard to look at that picture now, not just with anticipation for my son, but also with a profound sense of loss. I'm struggling to reconcile the joy of impending fatherhood with the heartache of possibly losing my partner. I'm scared I've not only inherited my father's ability to hurt those closest to him, but also his knack for letting his fears destroy the good in his life. As each day passes, the silence from my wife's side weighs heavier, and I'm left wondering if the path to becoming a family has irrevocably changed into parallel trails leading to separate futures. The thought of not being there every step of the way for my son, as I had vowed, is gut-wrenching. I'm holding on to the hope that time, therapy, and my genuine effort to change will be enough to heal the wounds I've inadvertently inflicted. But with every passing day, that hope dims, overshadowed by the stark reality that my dream of a happy family might remain just that, a dream. Now for the comments. Comment 1, not the idiot. It seems you're facing a very challenging situation, and it's commendable that you're taking steps towards therapy to address the issues you're experiencing. Acknowledging personal flaws and actively seeking help shows a willingness to improve not only for your benefit, but also for the sake of your marriage. It's unfortunate that your wife has become more distant in response to your decision. Communication is key in any relationship, and it might be that your wife is struggling with her own feelings about the marriage and the gender reveal aftermath. It's essential to recognize that while you can work on your issues, you cannot force someone else to do the same or to react as you hope they will. You are taking positive steps for your personal growth. Sometimes individual growth can lead to a stronger foundation for a relationship, but it can also mean that you grow apart. Regardless of the outcome, improving yourself is never a wasted effort. Comment 2, not the idiot. It's important to note that your recognition of potential parallels between your behavior and your father's is a significant step towards self-improvement. The fear of repeating family patterns can be a powerful motivator for change, and your proactive approach to seeking therapy is a positive action. However, it's crucial to understand that while you are willing to work on your issues, healing a relationship is a two-way street. Your wife's decision to move out and stay with her sister is a clear indication that there are deep-seated issues that need to be addressed from both sides. It's possible that she needs time and space to process her feelings and the recent events. It's also essential to respect her space and her process, even if it's difficult for you. The success of a marriage depends on the mutual effort and commitment of both partners, and if one partner is currently unable or unwilling to participate in that process, it can't be forced. Comment 3. Not the idiot. Your dedication to making changes in your life to avoid the mistakes you've seen in your family history is admirable. It's clear that you understand the gravity of what's at stake, your marriage and your happiness. The fact that you're willing to engage in therapy speaks volumes about your commitment to bettering yourself and your relationship. However, your story highlights an often overlooked aspect of relationships: timing. Your wife's reaction to your decision to seek therapy and the subsequent space she's taken might suggest that she's not ready to join you on this journey of self-improvement, or possibly that the timing of your revelation was not right for her. This doesn't mean your efforts are in vain, but rather that healing and reconciliation operate on their own timelines for each individual involved. Patience, understanding, and continued communication when she's ready will be key. Remember that while you work on yourself, it's important to give your wife the time and space she needs to come to terms with her feelings and decide on her own path forward. Now, for the next story. I, 50-year-old female, have 2 kids, Laura, who is 26 years old, and Chris, who is 29 years old. Laura is an interior designer and Chris is a registered nurse. I met Laura's girlfriend Heather, who is 28 years old, in person about 2 weeks ago at a family gathering. Heather was absolutely delightful. She was polite, charming, kind, and she obviously had strong feelings for Laura, so we all immediately liked her. She also got along really well with my mother Ruth, who is 75 years old. My mom got sick the other day. She was breathless, pale, and kept complaining of a hurting chest. Heather is training to be a cardiologist, so after calling the ambulance, she was the first person I called. She came to the hospital with Laura, helped us throughout the whole process, and only left after everything was sorted out and my mum was feeling better. Chris was pretty mad at me for calling Heather because he said that meeting someone once isn't a reason to call them during an emergency. He said I should apologise for disturbing Heather or get her a thank you gift or something, which I certainly will. He told me I'd crossed a line and that I should have called him first instead of Heather. Was I wrong to call her? I talked to Laura and she said Heather didn't mind the whole thing at all and was happy to help. She also said Heather was glad to already be treated as part of the family. I will definitely get her a thank you gift. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You were in a stressful situation wanting help for your mom. So of course your mind is going to go straight to the person you think could help you. Chris is just upset he wasn't called first and might assume he knows more on the subject than what someone training to be a cardiologist would. Usually that would mean Heather is already a DETA going into the specialty of cardiology. Anyway, just get her a nice gift. Thank her and tell her how great she will be in the professional with how she handled this, since the patient/family side is a hard thing to learn. Comment 2. No idiots here. But it's a bit odd to call her directly when you don't really know her, and without knowing what you asked, it may have been somewhat inappropriate to put her in the spot if she thought you were asking for free medical advice. It would have made more sense to call your daughter and ask her to ask Heather if she would mind coming to the hospital to help put your mind at rest. Comment 3. I know I'm in the minority, but I think you're the AH because you don't know her well enough to put that kind of pressure on her. She's also not a member of the family yet, so again, this isn't her responsibility. If anything, you should have called your daughter and have her talk to her girlfriend. Idiot. Now for the update. Heather just left our place after one of the most touching family dinners we've had in a long while. Seeing how it's been a few weeks since the whole hospital incident with Mum, it felt like the right moment to properly express our gratitude for all she did. I'd been on the lookout for something special to give Heather as a thank you, and after some thought, I settled on a beautiful stethoscope, engraved with her name. It was a hit. Her smile could have lit up the whole room. Laura winked at me from across the table, and even Chris, who'd been holding on to some reservations, finally seemed to thaw. We've all become quite the team in looking after Mum since her health scare. And Chris, he took Heather aside after dessert, and although I didn't catch everything, the hug they shared spoke volumes. It was his way of saying sorry, I guess, for doubting her place in all of this. It made me so proud to see such maturity from him. Mum, meanwhile, has been doing much better, and she adores Heather. It's like gaining another granddaughter for her. She's been telling everyone how that lovely young doctor saved her life. It's adorable, really. During dinner, she kept sharing stories from our family's past, and Heather listened with such warmth. It was like she had always been a part of these gatherings. The clinicians at the hospital have been wonderful, but Heather's expertise has given us all an extra layer of comfort. She's been guiding us through Mum's recovery, explaining things in a way that's easy to understand, and never making us feel like we're imposing. Laura's eyes are filled with so much love when she looks at Heather. I can see a future there. It's strange to think how a crisis can sometimes bring people closer together or show you who's really there for you. I'm just grateful. Grateful for Heather, for Laura's unyielding support, for Chris's new bond with Heather, and for Mum's improving health. We're not just a family, we're a team now, and adding Heather to it feels perfectly right. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Your story is heartwarming and reflects a mature and thoughtful response to a family crisis. It's beautiful to see that instead of succumbing to stress and potential conflict, your family has grown closer, particularly regarding Heather's role during your mother's hospital incident. Your gesture of gifting Heather an engraved stethoscope was a touching acknowledgement of her help and expertise. It's significant that even Chris, who had reservations, has come around to apologise and embrace Heather as part of the family. The fact that your mother adores Heather and sees her as another granddaughter speaks volumes about Heather's character and the bonds she has formed with your family. Your ability to recognise the silver lining in a crisis, and your gratitude for the support of Heather, Laura, Chris, and the improvement of your mother's health shows a commendable level of emotional intelligence and family unity. Comment 2. Not the idiot. It's commendable how you have navigated the emotional complexities of a loved one's illness by fostering a supportive and inclusive family environment. Recognising Heather's contributions with a personalised gift was a thoughtful way to honour her and validate her role in your family's journey through this difficult time. The personal growth and healing that Chris exhibited in overcoming his initial reservations about Heather, culminating in a sincere apology and a hug, is a testament to the positive influence Heather has brought into your family dynamics. Your narrative also highlights an important lesson about the potential for personal growth and strengthened relationships that can emerge from hardship. The fact that your family has come together in such a supportive way is a beacon of hope and resilience. Comment 3. Not the idiot. The manner in which you and your family have accepted Heather's support and integrated her into your family is both commendable and an example of the best of human compassion and acceptance. Your gift to Heather was not only a generous gesture but also symbolic of her new place within your family and the impact she has made. It's also significant that you've touched upon the idea that crises have the potential to bring people closer together, which is a mature perspective on handling adversity. Your story is a testament to the idea that families aren't just defined by blood, but by the love and support they provide to one another. Furthermore, the fact that you can envision a future for Heather and Laura together speaks to your open-mindedness and genuine care for your sister's happiness. Your ability to reflect on these events with gratitude and positivity is a sign of true emotional strength. Now for the next story. My son Ashton is in the 4th grade and I share custody of him with my ex. We have a schedule where we basically get him 1 week each. There were times where she tricked me by taking extra days without giving me the same time back. For example, she took him to visit her family in another state and came back 2 days later because of flight issues. Because that wasn't her fault, she refused to compensate me with extra days. Stuff like that. Ashton's school is connected to a park and every Friday they do physical education there. Well, he's 9 and does silly things and decided to see how far he could climb a tree. He got pretty far and then fell out. He had to get emergency surgery on his leg and got a bad concussion. He stayed overnight and then had another surgery on Saturday and was released that day. My ex and I didn't discuss the custody schedule. We were concerned with other matters. On Sunday, my ex said she was going to pick Ashton up for the start of her week, and I reminded her that he can't be moved around like that. He's still dazed from the concussion and medicine, and how are you going to get a kid with a broken leg into your 2-seat Porsche? Another thing is that he's still not able to wash himself and he will not let his mum do that. Just me. I told her she can visit but needs to prepare for him to stay. She was angry but knew I had a point and there were doctor's orders. Long story short, my son stayed with me 6 days later because my ex couldn't get the time off work, whereas I work from home. Our 19-year-old son agreed to help take care of Ashton when Ashton needs assistance from a guy. Ashton can now use crutches and recovered from his concussion and can go back to school on Monday. My ex said she wanted to be compensated for the 6 days she lost by having Ashton by getting 2 weeks instead of 1. I said nope. She said that was unfair. I reminded her of all those times when I lost days for things that weren't her fault, and you refused to compensate me. It's not my fault. Ashton's foolishness caused him to fall out of a tree, and you couldn't take a week off, so I'm not compensating you. I told her I'm not going to be flexible with you when you aren't flexible with me. Edit. No, my son doesn't get to pick and choose which parent he wants to stay with. That's basically making him act like a parent. Edit. He couldn't wash himself because he was drugged up for a few days, and it took a few days to clear his system. Also, he has a cast and can't get in or out of the tub. You have to watch him because he will end up wetting his cast. Also, he needs both hands to balance in the tub, and obviously can't do that and wash his hair at the same time. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Everyone sucks here. You guys are in a competition or in a collaboration. I just can't with parents being so petty with each other. Let her have her 2 weeks, and you both sit and establish clearer rules for the future, and agree to be flexible because life happens. Let her have the kid for 2 weeks. Child will not stop loving you in 2 weeks. The boy won't be harmed in any way. You're being selfish. Be a good father, a proper adult, and stop counting days. Tell your wife this is not a competition. The pettiness is big with you. If she has a Porsche, surely she could afford a big Uber to take the boy. See? You're both acting like children. See the big picture. The boy is recovering and loves and trusts both mother and father. That's what matters. Comment 2. Everyone sucks here. Yeah, your ex is an AH, but so are you, because it's pretty clear from all these responses from you that you are way more invested in being right than you are in your child's welfare. Neither you nor your ex can apparently be trusted to act in good faith, so you need to have your custody arrangement amended to include a specific clause that settles this argument. Extra days on either side are comp to the other. That's it. No arguing. You are also a giant jerk for the comment that your son's wishes don't matter. Comment 3. Everyone sucks here. Focus on what your child needs and wants. If Ashton wants extra time with Mum, let him have it. If Ashton wants or needs extra time with you, die on that hill. And Mum needs to do the same. Her wanting her time with him when he was still recovering is a bad move on her part, and almost moves it into she's the AH country. This isn't the time to settle old debts or create new ones. Now for the update, I thought we'd seen the worst of it, but things took an unexpected turn. After my son's surgery, his recovery was slower than expected. Complications arose and he developed an infection that landed him back in the hospital. The strain on everyone has been immense. My ex-wife was distraught, and even though we've had our disagreements, seeing her break down at the hospital was tough. We tried to put our differences aside for our son's sake, but stress has a way of reigniting old tensions. During the second hospital stay, my ex-wife took emergency leave from work to be there, but it was clear the financial strain was weighing on her. She kept mentioning the unpaid days and the mounting medical bills. A week after my son was discharged, it happened. He was playing quietly in his room when he suddenly let out a cry of pain. A rush to the emergency room revealed a re-injury requiring another surgery. My world stopped. Watching him go through this again was heart-wrenching. The situation with my ex-wife escalated after that. She became increasingly insistent on making up for lost time, seeing his vulnerability as an opportunity to rewrite our custody agreement in her favour. The arguments got heated, and in a moment I regret, I told her she was being selfish, trying to capitalise on our son's pain. The fallout was immediate. She threatened legal action, and I received a letter from her lawyer. I've spent the last few days scrambling to find legal help of my own, juggling work and caring for my son. But the hardest part in all of this is seeing the confusion and sadness in my son's eyes. He overhears conversations he shouldn't, sees the tension between his mum and me, and I can tell it's taking a toll on him. He's quiet, more withdrawn. And I caught him one night, tears in his eyes, asking if his injury was why we were fighting. I'm at a loss. I never wanted this. All I care about is his well-being, but somehow I've let the situation spiral. I'm trying to find a way through this without more damage, but right now, it feels like we're in the eye of a storm with no clear end in sight. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. The welfare of your son should be the primary concern for both you and your ex-wife. It's completely understandable that you're overwhelmed given the situation. Anyone would be. Facing a child's illness is hard enough without the added strain of financial woes and custody disputes. The fact that your ex-wife is using this unfortunate incident as leverage to renegotiate custody arrangements seems particularly insensitive to the emotional and physical well-being of your son, who is already in a vulnerable state. It's critical to remember that your son blaming himself for the arguments is a clear sign that the adults around him need to prioritize his emotional health and model supportive behavior. The focus should remain on supporting your son through his recovery, rather than engaging in disputes that only increase the emotional burden on him. Legal battles can be draining, both financially and emotionally, but your son's long-term health and happiness are what's most important. It might be beneficial to seek out mediation or family therapy to address the tensions between you and your ex-wife, creating a more stable and supportive environment for your son to recover in. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your situation is incredibly difficult, and the added stress caused by your ex-wife's actions does not help matters. While it's understandable for both parents to feel stressed and want to ensure they have adequate time with their son, it's not appropriate to use the child's health crisis as a bargaining chip. Her decision to pursue a change in the custody agreement amidst your son's medical complications appears to lack compassion and timing sensitivity. It's also important to consider the financial implications of these decisions. If your ex-wife is already struggling with unpaid leave and medical bills, engaging in a costly and potentially drawn-out legal battle over custody might not be in anyone's best interest. It would be more productive to find a way to work together to support your son's recovery and manage the financial burden. This could involve looking into community resources, support groups for parents of children with medical issues, or even starting a crowdfunding campaign to help cover expenses. Redirecting the energy from fighting into cooperative problem-solving could benefit all parties involved, particularly your son, who needs stability and reassurance during this challenging time. Comment 3. Not the idiot. In the midst of your son's health crisis, it's clear that the emotional toll on your family is significant. The actions of your ex-wife, while possibly stemming from her own stress and desperation, are adding unnecessary strife to an already painful situation. It's important to consider the legal implications of her threats and the long-term impact these decisions could have on your son. Your first priority is to secure the well-being and recovery of your son, and it's unfortunate that your ex-wife isn't fully cooperating in this effort. Legal help is essential, but it might also be worth exploring alternative dispute resolution options to reduce the adversarial nature of your interactions. It is important to communicate to your son that he is not to blame for the illness or the ensuing conflicts. Children often internalize family stress, and it is paramount that both parents reassure him of their unconditional love and support, regardless of the custody outcome. Above all, the goal should be to create a stable, nurturing environment for your son to heal, both physically and emotionally. This may require setting aside personal grievances and coming together as co-parents for the sake of your son's best interests. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.